Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. This is me, Jonathan Alexander, and I'm here to host our show, Life, Laughter, Happiness. Today, I have my co-host, Barbara. Are you there, Barbara?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everybody.
And
Hi.
I have my other co-host, Kelly. Are you there, Kelly?
Yes, I am. Hi.
Hi.
Now, Kelly, why don't you introduce the guest to everyone, being that this is somebody that you know real well?
All right. I have my friend Amy Greeson, and she is many, many things. She has been on expeditions. She has a book out. She has a lot of things going on, and she is a registered pharmacist, and she has been doing things with finding natural medicine and working with indigenous people from all over the world, finding natural plant-based medicines. And why don't you tell us about your book and tell us about what it is that you are up to and what you've been up to, Amy?
Thanks, Kelly, and thank you, Jonathan and Barbara, for having me on. I'm excited.
Yes.
We're excited too.
Well, I don't know what this says about me as a writer, but it took 6 years to write the book, and we released it at the end of July. And the book is called And the Silence Spoke. And it's really a collection of my most favorite stories, or some of my most favorite stories, from the treks that we've done over the last 20, 25 years, or since I've been going into jungles and rainforest. And interestingly, a lot of those stories are some of the more difficult times that we've had on treks, and where we've encountered some obstacles, we've had some situations. And at the end of the book, and the editor were looking at it, and I start looking at these stories, and I realized that there's some of the more difficult challenges that we've had over the years. And I wondered, oh my gosh, why am I writing about these really difficult things? But then I realized that it was because of those, those experiences crafted me, and they created who I am. So even though the book is telling some of these really cool stories of how we're going to these remote areas and we're looking for this plants and plant medicines, and we're working with indigenous villages and peoples, and seeing some amazing parts of the jungle that very few people see, there's this underlying growth that's happening with me, and the spiritual growth and growth as a human being, understanding my empathy levels, just grow tremendously every time I have experiences. And so really the book is this conglomeration of not only the stories and the adventures and looking for the medicines, but it's much deeper. It's telling those soulful things that I really have rarely shared in all these years.
Wow.
So that was a long answer to your question, Kelly.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Very exciting. I really can't wait to get my hands on this book because, I've been on a spiritual path and growth, and, I can't wait to delve into this because I've been very environmentally conscious and spiritually conscious, and, that is something that I've always wanted to do, was to go into remote places and interact with indigenous people, and I've always believed that the most wondrous parts of the world are the ones that we probably can, most of us never see, and that I think that, our survival is based on plant-based medicine. We just, through, modern medicine, we've forgotten. And I know with my own health, it would not permit me to go to these remote areas. So I'm eternally grateful, that people like you can take us there. And you have a documentary that I am dying to be able to see. Can you tell us where we can find that and how we can see it?
Yeah, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. First of all, we have the amazing team, and I don't know if you're like me and Barbara and Jonathan, but just the fact that there's three of you doing this amazing job with this radio show. Teamwork is everything, and if you have the right teammates, you bring out the strengths in each other, and you also understand each other's weaknesses, but you never play on those weaknesses. What you do is you support that person, and that's what our team has done throughout the years, and I'm so grateful for that. So, but the documentary that we have was when we spent almost 2 months in the Congo, and this was in 2016. We were in an area that by the Wildlife Conservation Society has been deemed undocumented. So they don't have documentation of the flora or the fauna in there. They were not even sure if there were indigenous villages and people in this area. And so we went in and to explore this area. And when we first started out, we thought, this is just going to be amazing because we create these educational videos, typically short 8 to 10 minute videos. But we did a documentary on this particular expedition because it was just such an amazing story. But, we thought, we're going to go in and we're going to see these amazing species of life, and we're going to capture on film maybe some new animals or insects or whatever. Your mind just goes crazy because this world is just so amazing, and the diversity of life is beyond anything any of us could even ever fathom. But we go in, and we're in the country please forgive me, I can't remember, maybe 7 days, 10 days, and we get arrested before we ever step a foot in the jungle. And the reason is that we are flying drones, and they believe that we are spies, and so they arrest us under charges of espionage. And so our team goes through numerous encounters with the police and the military personnel, if you will. And I think we are picked up 5 times, and we're arrested twice. So that happens when we're out of the jungle. But then when we're in the jungle, it is the most difficult jungle any of us have ever been in. And I think I've probably been in jungles or parts of jungles probably 14, 15 times in my life. But it was the most difficult jungle we've ever experienced. There were swarms of bees multiple times a day. We ran out of water. We were lost multiple times, and the canopy, the canopy of the trees above this jungle is so thick that you could not get your satellite phone to work. Your GPS could not pick up a signal, and so we relied solely on, typically very little on any kind of GPS, but on the trackers and guides. But because they had never been there, they kept getting turned around. And so anyway, it was what ended up is a documentary about perseverance and grit and determination and teamwork. And, even when you were at the lowest of lows and we all thought that we were going to die, it just took putting one foot in front of another until we finally emerged out of that jungle. And I think there's some fabulous life lessons in there, because I think that all of us have had situations in our life that we thought there's no way out. I'll never get through this. I'll never come out on the other side. And sometimes all you need is faith and hope and just to keep moving. And I apologize. I've just rambled like so much. So I'm going to stop. And
so interesting. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And not only are you dealing with getting lost in this incredible jungle to try to get through, but I've also read that you have to be careful of, being robbed and, crime too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did that ever happen to you?
Which part, Kelly?
It's Barbara.
Barbara. Barbara. Hey, I'm going to get your voices correct. Barbara, so the robbing and then what was the second part? I'm sorry.
I said robbing and just basic crime with getting carjacked with the rental cars and just basic. It's not that bad though there compared to a lot of the different cities there on the island, but just basically you're dealing with not only the jungle and not only the natural hardships, but people maybe robbing you. Did that ever happen?
That there was one time when, several times that we've had to get extra security with us, and the further away you get from the cities, Barbara. I mean, you probably have experienced this too, but the further away from the cities, the kinder and more respectful and honest people tend to be, or that's the impression of our team. But if they see an opportunity, a lot of people will seize that to, like you say, try and get someone's belongings or whatever. But there was one time in Papua New Guinea. It was probably the most concerning trek, most concerning part of this trek that we did, and it was along the Highlands Highway. And for that particular stretch of highway, and it was many, many hours, we had armed guards in our vehicles. And the reason is that there are groups of bandits that they call rascals. And these rascals, what they'll do is your vehicle, when it's going along the mountainous regions, which are quite remote, they will hide around like a blind curve when they hear your vehicle coming. And there are very few vehicles, so it's the sound of a vehicle is very noticeable. And so what they do is they put a log or some kind of a block in the road, so when your driver comes around a corner, he slams on brake to avoid the log, but by the time he backs up, they put another one in place. And so the idea is really to drive like, a bat out of hell as much as possible so that you don't give them an opportunity to respond. And so anyway, we got through. We had no issues whatsoever. But I've recently been chatting with a friend of mine, Colin, who lives in New Zealand, and he was there with a film team, and just amazing, really cool outdoors, but very professional. I mean, just extraordinary professional photographers and so forth. And they were in a van, and they were going up a hill, a steep hill. And he said before they knew it, there was something thrown in the road in front of them. The van doors opened up, and machetes were right all over them. And they sliced his wrist pretty bad. And thank God they were able to get him help and then fly him back to Christchurch in New Zealand, where they operate. But he's really cool now. But that is like the worst case scenario I've heard of incidents, but I've never known anyone who's been the victim like Colin has. And so I'm grateful that he is okay, and grateful, too,
I'm
that our
curious.
team did not have.
You said that you had to do it with armed guards. Has there ever been a case of them trying to rob you but then have there be armed guards there?
No, we've been very fortunate. So, I don't know if they recognize the vehicles, because usually we hire a company and we also rent, their, Range Rovers, Land Cruisers, or whatever. So they may be familiar with the particular company's vehicles that we're riding in as well. But we've not had that problem, thank goodness.
Oh, good.
Thank goodness. Wow, that is scary. You're so adventurous. This is amazing just to talk to you.
But I mean, it's so beautiful, and what you said earlier, and when we were talking beforehand, and it's just, the world is so beautiful. And we hear so much of the negativity with the loss of the environment and the devastation, and believe me, it is as bad as people say. We're worried about the Amazon. It is a travesty that's going on there. But in other areas of the world, I dare say you could probably magnify that destruction 10, 20, and 50-fold and get an idea of what's been going on in the rest of the world. For example, Madagascar, NASA says that they've already lost over 90% of their natural forest. And you don't hear about Madagascar in the news. It takes something really horrible that is affecting us right here at home, and that happens to be the Amazon. But it is so beautiful, and the species and the life is just it's just spectacular, and it really would be a travesty to not try and preserve what we have left and try and get the other species to thrive where they haven't been able to.
For sure.
How can we do that? How can we help? I mean, it seems like the more people are trying to help, the more people are out there, that don't care, that are trying to, I don't know what all it takes is like one big company or one person to start a giant fire or, to deflorest. And, I mean, what can we do to help? I mean, once these things are gone, they're gone.
I think that's the million-dollar question, and it's daunting. And, I always go back and people say, well, you can start small with the recycling and trying not to use the plastics. And a good friend of mine who is Celine Cousteau, do you know Jacques Cousteau?
Yeah.
The great oceanographer. So Celine is Jacques' granddaughter. And we were traveling together in Papua New Guinea probably about 6-7 years ago. And I never will forget, we were talking about things, and because the concern was high then, and of course it's much worse now, but I remember her talking about cigarette butts and how cigarette butts, how much pollution in the world, because, they go down the sides of the street and down into the gutters and into the sewage, and they never really go away, and they show up in all these things. And, and it's just simple things of that. But, you hit on a much bigger thing is that, one company, one person can come in and log thousands and thousands of acres of land, and you're never seen them again. And then you have these people, these heroes, and there's a guy in Madagascar, and his name is Olivier Berra, and Olivier, he is just amazing. But what he did, and this was like 15, 20 years ago, there was a swath of land, and it was believed to be if I'm remembering this right now, it's been, probably 2008 or so when we were talking about this. But it was an area in the world that they believed like the most species of frogs and perhaps amphibians, I think they were all frogs, lived in this area. But this logging company was coming in. I believe it was logging. It was a mining or logging. I believe it was logging. Company came in and wanted to take the whole land away. And so Olivier took it upon himself. He said, no, you can't do that. All these species will die. All these plants will die. All these medicines will die. And so he raised enough money to buy that land from the company and saved it, and now it's a thriving, very preserved piece of land. And then you have people like Patricia Wright, and Patricia Wright is a major and an amazing lemur researcher, and she fell in love with lemurs when she was young. And she is the one that is responsible for a huge national forest that has been preserved. And so you have these people who are fighting, and they're the unsung heroes in many ways. And I think we need more of them and a lot more conscious, conscious actions, I think, from the individual to the largest companies.
I know what you're talking about with the cigarette butts. So if everybody would just take a little baggie with them if they smoke cigarettes and just don't put those on the beach. They're just riddled everywhere along Santa Monica Beach. It's just so crazy. It's just so sad. Yes. Oh, I see it. But just down south a little bit where I now live in Huntington Beach, I don't see hardly any cigarette butts. So if people could just do that, that was a very good point. Just everybody just do their part with that and the plastics. That would just help. I mean, and people think, why should I even try? Look at it already. But no, do try. It is important.
It is, and it's I will be very honest with you. Up until a few years ago, I have friends that are huge environmentalists, and they were really I don't want to use the word preaching, but really, really stressing the fact that we were in a critical point with our government, with the logging, with and I will say unconscious logging, because there is some conscious practices that are working with groups. And anyway, I'll go back to that in a minute. But, actually, let me tell you, when we were in the Congo, they have these huge trees. I mean, an 18-wheeler, these trees are so big that the 18-wheeler can only haul one tree. And the tree is so huge, it still hangs off either side of that 18-wheeler and off the back end. And so what they do, the logging company there, they work so closely with the villages that they go into the forest and they walk with an elder or representative or representatives of the village, and together they mark the trees that they will take out. And they don't go in and just cut down a whole acre of land. They will only take one tree from this area and one tree from the other. And what we were told by the people who live in the village is that way the forest can recover. And it's a little bit of damage, but not enough damage to where they lose everything. And they're very happy because the logging company provides health care. They have built schools. The kids are getting educated. They don't have as much malaria and some of the other things that other places do. And so they've been able to come together and work together, and they're both happy. And I think that no matter what the situation is, if you can find that both sides compromise and it's a win-win for both sides, I think that that's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Is it your main goal? What is your main goal? Is it to heal people with plant-based derivatives, or is it environment, or both equally?
That's a great question, Barbara. It's as a pharmacist, it is first and foremost was always and is always to work with indigenous groups to bring that plant medicine back and to test and analyze it. So either for new herbal botanical products, we are now working with an agricultural company to bring safer insecticides, pesticides to the market, and also with several researchers and organizations with pharma, because most people don't tell you this, but over 55% of our pharmaceuticals are derived from nature, and we've had some amazing things, and so it's nature has been and always will be the alpha laboratory. And, I think that scientists are brilliant and researchers are brilliant, and they have been able to create some amazing things. At the same time, I still believe that nature can and will cure everything if we continue to look for it and if we don't destroy it in the process.
Wow. But you know what I've always wondered?
What's that?
I've always wondered, the people of the land so long ago, that's all they had. How did they test the plants? I mean, a lot of them are poisonous. So how would they go about testing to see, okay, this one works for this and this one cures this? Way back in the beginning of time, really, or the indigenous people, how did they do it?
I love that you asked that, because I have for years and years and years wondered the same thing. And when I sit down like with an elder, and let's just say he's 70, 80 years old, and as far as he can remember, he was taught by his father, who was taught by his father, who was taught by his father, who was taught by his father. And so when I ask, how did they learn this from the very beginning? I've never had an answer. So I don't know if it's through a dream, if spirit has come through and told them these things, if they've watched animals, like I guess it's the puma who was eating the bark of the tree, and man finally started doing that, and that became our malaria medicine. If they watch the animals, or I don't. That's a great question, and you're right.
On that. I have a comment on that subject. I think it was a few years ago, they put. This is not a tangent, but they put a temporary filling in my tooth, and because temporary fillings are not permanent fillings, I was experiencing this sensitivity in my tooth, like the side of my mouth was becoming sore and everything. And the dentist came in and he says, "Okay, what probably happened was there was a nerve that got aggravated there. Let me go see." And what he did, he went and got something called leaf of oak. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Oak leaf
say
or
that
something.
One more time.
It was like oak leaf of oak. It was something that and I forgot what it was called. And then he put it on my mouth. Immediately it went away. And I said, "Well, what's this? I mean, how long is this?" And he goes, "This is old. This is back with the caveman." And it was something that they used. It was one of those things that people in the cave used. And it's actually kind of funny. It actually is just amazing that something so simple. I mean, and like another thing that's interesting about it is like when I bought this book on how to get on reality television shows, and they talked about Survivor, and they said, do you know how you tell if the water is polluted or not?
How?
Okay. If you go to a water or stream and there's fish in it, you can drink from it. If you go to water and there's no life in it at all, that means it's poisonous.
What about
well, that
algae?
makes
Algae
sense.
is life. What about something green? I mean, that's life, but that could be poisonous.
Well, what
Good
I'm
point.
saying is it's just that the fish obviously aren't able to live in it. So what you do is you go with the ones that are that have fish in them and have wildlife and fish living in it, because that it's safe.
Well, that makes sense, but what if there's no body of water around with fish in it, and that you just see a bunch of green and you're totally thirsty? Then what do you do?
I don't know, but I do think that that question was only really thrown for people who were competing on Survivor. So I think more than likely they're not going to let anybody die on that show. But that's what they tell you to do. So
Or Naked and Afraid. We interviewed the people on Amy. We interviewed the people on Naked and Afraid. Did you ever see that show?
No, but I am so going to pull that up, because every now and then I will watch that on television just to see how they handle it. What was that like?
Oh, they went through hell.
I had two of them.
Because they were going through everything you did, but they were naked.
And actually, I had before
God.
Kelly came along, I interviewed two of the Survivor winners, Jenna Maraska and Ethan Zoe.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
Oh, it's amazing. But, I have a question. Okay, you know when you're traveling to a foreign land and there's certain shots that you have to get, or you could get diseases and, catch all kinds of things. Is there anything that you personally do instead of the normal, what the basic government says to get before traveling? Is there something more natural that you do yourself before traveling?
No. Barbara, I tell you, I've always been too afraid to risk anything, just because I know that if something happens or I come down with something, the whole trek is over, basically. So I do. I take, the yellow fever vaccines, hepatitis, the typhoid, about anything and everything that they recommend. The only times that I will not probably do something is I often do not take the malaria medication unless I am on a trip and my immune system is down or I'm fighting something. Then I will take it. And the big reason is that my body doesn't do so well with a lot of meds, and so sometimes the side effects bother me more than taking the risk. So I often will do that, or I'll take it maybe the first half of an expedition and then get a little bold and not take it for the latter part.
Wow. Well, what was your biggest breakthrough, your biggest discovery with your team so far?
Gosh, with the plants, we've had some really great response with a primary researcher who has been, his mission for I guess he's been doing this for close to 40-some years, looking for treatments for cancer. So our specimens are screened by him, and we have had, I think, 13 plants over the years, because we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of specimens that have tested with some activity against certain types of cancer. And our number one plant with him has for five different compounds that are active against cancer that are now in advanced stages. Advanced stages meaning they haven't reached human trials yet or anything like that, but have been studied for, going on about 6 years now. And then we've had some that have had some activity against pain, and hopefully we're going to screen a lot of our plants here in the next year for inflammation and antibiotics and antimicrobials, antifungals, those kind of things. So it takes a long time.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Because that's going to stop people from being addicted to all that pain medication if they could just take something natural.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? It would be.
Oh, yeah. Such a huge epidemic.
It is. And I don't know how you stop people mixing the fentanyl and, the other drugs in there that are really causing the huge problem that people are dying from. And I've always said I had a gazillion semesters of chemistry in college, and these people who are in these meth labs and creating these drugs that they are selling on the street are far better chemists than I could probably ever imagine of being. And I wish that they would use that creativity and that talent and that intelligence to do something good. It's a horrible problem. It's sad how many people have lost their lives because of it.
Oh, it really is. Yeah. Well, this must be so fulfilling for you that you are doing something for the good of humankind out there. Wow, what a life! What a great life you're leading.
It has. It's been wonderful, and I think, and I believe that this path was what I was meant to do in my life. But there have been so many more times that I've been on my knees than there ever have been on a mountaintop. And I hope that before, I take my last breath, that I'll be able to see that something that we've done, that we've been working with, has benefited not only these people in the villages, but the rest of the world by bringing cures and treatments that we haven't seen before. And, we are almost like a messenger. The majority of the plants that we're testing have come from these hundreds and thousands of years of indigenous knowledge. And we work very closely with these healers, and we only proceed if they want to proceed. But this is really their medicine, and we are, the messengers to come and to try and figure this out so that the rest of the world can benefit from that. But again, like early when I talked about it, it's all about teamwork, and we only move forward as a team. And I think that we are going to find some some mind-boggling discoveries by doing this. And I hope that in my lifetime I will be able to see that. But if not, I hope that the next generation will be able to benefit from all that we're doing.
For sure. I'm sure there will be. And I bet you've had some wonderful experiences with the people of the land. Tell us about what is that like when you come across a tribe of indigenous people out there. They seem so nice. Elkie, she's been on the show. She went there for a photo shoot, and she was out there and the elephants shooting in Africa, and ran across this native man, and he helped her get into the tusks of an elephant for this fantastic photo. And
wow.
she got to do that, and the guy was just so helpful and so nice. Of course, they couldn't speak to him, but he just knew what they needed, and he helped. And he had his spear and his loincloth, and how do you know if they're going to be nice or? I mean, this is just so adventurous. I can't even imagine coming across somebody like that.
It is people all over the world, and I really believe this. Their nature, good souls. I think when we have had some interactions that initially maybe were a little skittish, it was every single time it was because of an interaction with another outsider before us that left a bad taste in their mouth or left a bad taste in somebody in the villages that, the word spread or whatever. But I would say probably 90% of the people that we meet are they're just like my grandparents. My grandparents, my father's parents were from Alamance County in North Carolina, and my mother's parents were not too far from them. And if somebody was walking along the road and they were hungry or thirsty, my grandparents would have said, "Come on in, let me fix you some homemade biscuits," and before you knew it, there'd be a spread of food all over the table. And this is the way people are. They just and I think that they can, Barbara and Kelly, I know that you guys can relate to this because of the energy, but they know a good person. It's just like when you walk down the street and you can sense that somebody is really good, and then sometimes you can sense, something doesn't feel right here. They know, I think, good people, and I think they know people who are coming there with good intentions, and they also recognize people who are coming there with bad intentions. And it's a level that exceeds anything that of a spoken language. And it's just like you were saying, that the gentleman, they couldn't communicate, but the heart always communicates, even when the language is not there.
Wow, that's so wonderful.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I know earlier there was you had a question about what was like some of the greatest things that we have found, and so with the research, we have a for-profit company, and it's called Natural Discoveries, and we have a lab over at Lake Forest Innovation Quarter. But then the majority of our Trek team is a film team, and they represent the nonprofit. And our nonprofit is called Healing Seekers, and that's the one that we created the documentary with. But the team is so talented. We have a head videographer, Esteban Barrera, who is, he will do anything to get the shot. If he stands in the same place for 14 hours, he's going to stay in the same place for 14 hours until he gets the shot that he wants. And then we have Will Weldon, who is our sound guy and also a backup camera guy, who also produces films and has won multiple awards with that. But then we have a post-production team and McWhorter Concepts in Greensboro. And what they have been able to do still to this day blows me away. When we came back from the Congo, because we had been, picked up by police and we were arrested, and then the jungle, the swarms of bees, by the time you got the cameras out, there were literally hundreds of bees around you, so you only have so much time to film. So when we got back to the United States, we would typically have 100 or so hours of footage. And we got back and I looked at that footage and I was like, oh my gosh, we don't even have enough footage to even do a 30-minute documentary. What are we going to do? But their creativity came through, And before you know it, we had a 77-minute documentary, and it was just brilliantly done. But then again, there's the teamwork. So with the nonprofit, I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that the talents of this team and how they've all come together. And believe me, I don't have any control over that. I'd stand way off to the side and let them do their thing. But it has been a joy to be able to watch and to see the results that they have and the impact that they're having on students and educators who actually are watching these, and they're using these in the classrooms, and that makes it all worthwhile.
Oh yeah! Wow. So the people that you work with too are all like-minded and just they're passionate. How wonderful to be working with such a team like that of everybody. I mean, you have to love what you're doing to go through what you go through to get that footage. So you're working with all these wonderful people. Now, when did you know you wanted to do this? Were you a little girl with dreams of this, or how did this all come to happen for you?
I've always loved sports and the outdoors, but it wasn't until much later. I had graduated from pharmacy school. I had an externship up in Alaska, and I think that started to set the stage a little bit with other cultures and different ways of life. But I still was not awake, if you will, on what it was that I now realize I'm supposed to do or wanted to do with my life. And I think it was just really, really gradual. The other thing is that after I left Alaska and I came home to work in my father was a pharmacist, and I came to work in his pharmacy and my parents' pharmacy in a small little town called Thomasville, North Carolina. Every person that came into that store, I pretty much knew, or I knew their children, or I knew, their spouses or whoever, and they were, the teachers and doctors and the people who worked at the diner down the street, and they were just people I'd known my whole life. And I watched them come in battling these horrific diseases, things that we didn't have answers for, but we gave them medications, and I take that back. Sometimes, of course, the medications worked and they got well, but some of them that were battling chronic issues that we didn't have a treatment for, we kept giving them more and more powerful drugs or more and more drugs, and it was all about the quality of life. But I knew that there were answers out there, and I wanted to be able to find that. And I had a breaking point. It was a really, really tough year. We had I'd lost an uncle to cancer. I had several of our family friends passed away from things like that. And I think I got to the point where I was tired of feeling helpless. And I knew the answers were out there, and I didn't think that other people were really looking in nature anymore, and so I decided to go and look for them myself. So it was really, I was extremely naive. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and we made, just a steep learning curve with a lot of failures, and eventually, fast forward 10 years later, and here we are, and so it's been a wonderful course.
Wow. And just what you're doing for students in schools alone, I read that you have 100,000 schools they're learning from you what your team is doing around the country, probably around the world. Are you just worldwide teaching kids, students, college kids, and all that?
I do quite a few talks, quite a lot of talks with schools, a lot of colleges and prep schools and some things like that, individual talks. But our videos through Healing Seekers, what we did was we have a contract with two of the largest distribution venues in the United States, and their clientele include the 100,000. So those teachers and those educators have access to our materials, which complement the school curriculums. So they're not really like our direct personal venues that we have. We absolutely work with a distribution venue on those. But, they are I can't remember the word that they use, but what they do when they get our videos is they pair them up. And so, for example, if we're showing a village in Papua New Guinea, they will say, okay, this is fit for social studies, grade 5, 6, and 7, or this might be more along, biology for 9th and 10th graders. And so they tag all of our videos with these multiple tags so that a teacher, if they're studying, social studies or whatever of different cultures in the world, can, they'll look it up and it's like, oh, okay, there's this video. Let me show this video. And so it's really a brilliant way to have it like at a teacher's hands, an educator's hands, because they have so much going on and they have so much pressure that whatever we can do to make it easier and make the materials more accessible is what our organization strives to do.
And it makes it fun, too. I remember being in school, and I loved those days when they'd have the educational videos on of the nature and all of the discoveries, and I loved those. It makes learning fun.
Oh, yeah, me too. Those are my favorites.
It does, and I think it's for any male or female, and I think that one of the things that whenever I go and speak or people see, I think it in the girls particularly, I think sometimes it plants a seed that says, oh my goodness, okay, I can be an explorer too, because when I grew up, it was all men, and I loved men. They were tough, and I just I loved them. I loved watching. But I think sometimes when I go and talk, it's uplifting, especially for a girl, to say, okay, wow, I can do that too if that's what I'm drawn to, and that makes me happy because I don't care, what your sex or your race or I don't care. The big thing is for someone to follow their heart and to dig deep inside and to follow those things that really, really feed their soul. And I think that's the only way a lot of times that people have that happiness at the end of their lives, is that they've lived an authentic life, if you will.
Definitely. I remember my daughter, Priscilla, did a book report on Jane Goodall, and I learned all about her through my daughter. That was totally cool. Very inspiring woman.
She is like one of my most favorite. And talk about a role model. Oh my gosh, Jane Goodall was so tough that people say, oh, I can't believe you go into the jungle. Well, when I go in the jungle, there's we have our team, and then we have 6, 8, 10 porters, trackers, and guides, all wielding machetes and all of that. Jane Goodall went in as a solo person. I mean, she would leave camp and hike up in the jungle to observe just by herself. And
wow.
And I thought, oh my God, she's so tough. Tough in the highest respect. But good for your daughter for doing that report.
Yeah,
actually,
so she was a role model
because,
for you. Wow.
Wow.
It's funny
Yeah.
because I, she's still alive. I just did a check on her. My mom was always a big fan of Coco the gorilla.
Yeah.
And and actually there was a story. I think it was, and I don't know if you have any kids, but apparently what happened was this lady. What? Oh, this lady. She was taking her baby to the zoo, and what happened was that she dropped the baby, fell into the cage with gorillas. Well, obviously we know how strong gorillas are and what they're capable of doing. Well, what happened was that the female gorillas knew that something was up, So what they did was they walked over to where the baby was. They picked the baby up and they handed it back to the mom.
Oh my goodness.
Sweet.
Wow.
I love that. Yes. Everybody's screaming, "Oh, don't go near my baby!" And then it does that. How wonderful!
Aww.
I love that story.
Yeah. Me too.
Do you know that story, Amy? Or
say that one more time, Jonathan.
do you know that story? Or
No, but I don't. I feel like there's so many things that I am so far behind on. So I've got to look that up, and that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
Amy,
Yeah.
you know what? One of my biggest dream, and I've traveled around the world, but I haven't done it yet. And I wrote this down 27 years ago, an African dream trek. I called it the trek, and I haven't done that yet, but I really want to. Yes.
God.
Yes.
Oh.
And
well,
I always, what I think of I think of myself as dancing around a fire with the how do you pronounce it? Indigenous people?
Uh-huh.
Yes. I have this dream that I'm going to be dancing around a fire with these people. Would that be possible?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah. Have
yeah.
you done that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes, I have. I have danced with a lot of them, but in Papua New Guinea and not in the Congo. I don't think we did any dancing. We had too many things going on. But Barbara, when you get to the point and you decide exactly, what your dream is, I mean, just, go all out or whatever, let me know, because I have got some of the most wonderful friends all over Africa, and just some amazing souls. And I will help you make that a reality. I'll do everything I can to make that a reality for you.
Oh, thank you, Amy. So you know what? There is a reason why I haven't done it yet, because I have you now, because I would love those connections. Thank you.
And it's actually kind of funny. Now I'm starting to think of the movie Crocodile Dundee. I think what's so funny about that movie, about the appeal of that film, was because the idea that this guy was sort of, it was sort of like you would expect him to be. He was basically he came to New York, but he was out of place, but nobody was really rude to him. That's one of the things I noticed is that it wasn't like being rude to the guy. He was out of place, but he wasn't. Like the people there were especially rooted. And the thing is that he would do. I've asked some people, like, this thing about the Bushmen, like, is that stuff really real? Like the whole, you know what I'm talking about, where he gets the bull to lay down. Do you know anything about that? Is that real? Like the thing that they did with the bull?
I have no idea, but I do love that movie, and I love the Harrison Ford, like the Temple of Dooms and all those things too. But I have no
Actually,
idea.
one of my
Jonathan.
favorite line in the whole movie, everyone's favorite line is "Give him your wallet." Why? He's got a knife? No, that's not a knife. That's a knife.
That's a what? That's a what?
They go out, and apparently they run into these guys, and he says, "Oh, can I have a wallet and can I have your time? Yes, and your wallet." And then Linda goes, "Give him your wallet." Why? He's got a knife. And then Crocodile Dundee goes, "Oh, that's not a knife." He takes this big knife. That's a knife.
I remember that part too. That is great. That is great.
Yeah.
Movies do inspire, that's for sure. But I want to go see your movie, your documentary. I just love documentaries so much. It's called Congo, right? Oh, yes.
Yes, it's called Expedition Congo, and it's on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I have Amazon Prime. Okay, I'll watch that right away. Can't wait.
It's 77 minutes, so it's just enough time to sit there with a nice big bowl of popcorn.
Ooh, and now that we know you, or you're a friend of Kelly's, and she's known you, but just meeting you and watching it, that's going to be extra special.
Oh, thank you, Barbara. Thank you.
Yes. Wow.
I can't wait to get your book. I'm excited.
Yeah, I tell you, I think of all the things I've ever done in my life. The book is probably the thing that I'm the most proud of, and I don't know if that's because it took so long to write it and it was finally over, or if it was really digging so deep and, in the process realized, some things that I didn't realize when I was going through them. And, just the epiphanies, if you will, and the greater awareness. And, again, I wrote the book. What I did was I projected myself into the future. So it's like I'm telling all of these stories as an old lady, but I'm telling them to my nieces and nephews. And I'm telling them not because, let me tell you this or this or this. It's to give them examples of the way the world is, so that hopefully it'll make their lives easier. And when they go through difficult times, that, maybe there'll be something in the back of their mind thinking, okay, this is okay. It's going to be okay. I'm going to get through this or whatever. But yeah, it's a little different in that it's told in a fictional way, but all the details, all the stories, there's 8 pages of colored photos. All of that is accurate and true, and but anyway, I hope that you'll enjoy it.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to have you on here. Honored to know you as a friend. Honored, it seems like you've had, this great awakening and spiritual journey and transformation and overcome so many, things that could have been roadblocks that people could have just thrown up their hands and said, well, forget this. This is too hard. I can't, this must be a sign to say stop, when a lot of people could have done that. You decided to push through and keep going. And so you've overcome adversity. So,
thank you. But there were a lot of times that I tell you, I was right there. I was like, I cannot go on. It was after being rejected for the 100th grant, or something else that just didn't come out, or it took me I formed the for-profit company, so the research company. I started in 2008, And it was 2014, the middle of 2014, before we had the first outside money and the first investor. And so there were so many times, I mean, I literally worked full-time as a pharmacist and then a second job as a consultant to basically pay the bills for these treks and the expeditions for the nonprofit side. And so there were a lot of times that I was just like, it's never going to make it. I need to stop and cut my losses. And it's like every single time I was at that point, okay, it's all over. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's not going to happen. Some door would open or something would happen, and it would shift everything. And it would be like almost like, God, the universe saying, oh no, you're not meant to stop this. And so you feel like you're almost when I think of diagnosis, or when I think of someone bipolar, they're on top of the world one minute and in the deepest state of depression the next. And I feel like my life has been like that. It's like a roller coaster. It's like, you have these great days, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh boy, this is not good, and you get rejected again, and you have to go through those feelings. And but anyway, I think that's life for most people. I think whoever you are, and no matter what you're doing, and if you're a student or if you're 80 years old, I think a lot of times you still have life is like that. And, it's just you just pray that the good times far exceed the bad, and that something good comes out of it in the end.
Wow. Do you have anything planned? Do you have a trek for the future already planned?
I think we will probably need to go back to Papua New Guinea next year. We're waiting on some research results. And so if the results are good, and I'm hoping that they are, we'll need to go back and collect much larger amounts of the plants. And so I'm thinking Papua New Guinea is probably definitely going to be on the radar for next year. And for the next totally new expedition location, we're looking at probably like Indonesia or Borneo. But what's going on in the Amazon is also going on there. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to confront when the time comes that we, do the fundraising and actually get to the point where we're able to go. But that would be probably the next place that we will go.
Great. Wow.
There's just so much of the world to see. As you want to. I still want to go to Italy and France and places like that. I've never been, and most people have. So there's just so much to see in the world. You just, hope that one day you'll be able to do that.
Maybe for just like no research, go somewhere, or could you not imagine doing that?
Oh, definitely. Oh, imagine it all the time. It's actually nice. It's nice to take a little vacation, even to go to the beach or whatever. But I will be in France next year. I'm giving a talk there, and so I'm going to take a few days and have some friends that are going to be flying over, and we're just going to take some time and just have some fun.
Well, that'll be nice. Well, do you have any animals of your own, or is that too hard because you're traveling so much?
No, I do. My partner and I, we have a dog, and the dog is because the deal was if I went to the Congo, was going to be gone for 2 months, then I guess the deal was that we would get a dog, and so we rescued a little dog. He was 6 months old, and he is just he's a trip. He's very well behaved, but just the cutest little personality.
Oh, good. And dogs, they can go with you.
Say again?
You can take dogs with you. They're easier than cats. You can take them with you. Not on your trek, but just for basic traveling, you could take your service dog. I see so many service dogs when I was traveling now. I'm going to get a dog before they ban service dogs because everybody has a service dog these days. But I want a little partner. I want something to keep me company.
They're great companions, aren't they?
Yeah.
And, I of all the things, all my friends that have had pets and all that, dogs love to get in the car. They love to go for a ride. Oh no, not our dog. Our dog, whose name
really?
is Congo, hates the car. So I don't know if something happened when he was a puppy or something before we got him, because he was rescued. But he hates the car. So that's very unfortunate because he would have a good time.
So so the dog keeps your partner, is your partner's companion when you're away. So that was the deal?
Yes, exactly.
That's good.
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yes.
Which is why I'm a little skeptical to leave the country again on a trip like that because, I'm afraid there might be a second one and then a third one, and there's just no way that's going to happen.
Does your partner work with you ever?
Work with what? Is that Jonathan?
Work with you? Does your partner ever work with you?
No, completely different fields. She actually has a company called 21C Systems, and they have she has a couple patents on shelving systems. So it's up in NYU. She's done some work with Sloan Kettering. Actually quite a few universities and stuff, so completely opposite, but and definitely would not enjoy the bees and being filthy and all of that.
Wow. That's funny.
Yeah.
Opposites attract.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we are so grateful. The work that you do, we're so grateful for that. I mean, this is just truly amazing what you give to the world, basically.
Yeah.
Thank you. I tell you, it is it's a privilege, and I mean that with all my heart.
I have a question for you. What's been your most spiritual moment on your journey? The moment that was the closest thing to a spiritual moment, the one that you thought, oh my God, this is powerful.
Oh, wow. Gosh, nobody has ever asked that before.
That's a great question.
Say that one more time.
We were just saying, great question, Josh.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like the movie The Life of Pi, that guy was dealing with all kinds of animals. So it just sort of got me thinking about that. I mean, did you have any moments? What's the most moment like that? The one you thought, okay, yeah, this is profound or something powerful.
There've been several times with some elders, and I can't pinpoint anything in particular, but just being in their energy for some reason. And then there's a place in Papua New Guinea, and it's in the ocean, and I've never. We took snorkel gear and underwater cameras because we knew that this area was just going to be amazing, and it was there are no ships, there's nothing coming off of this tiny little island, so there's no human pollution or anything like that. It's just pristine. And I remember when my buddy Tibby, who was filming, had gone out, and he had his snorkel and everything, and he was out filming. And he came up out of the water, and he's like, he's Ecuadorian, so he has this really strong accent. And he's like, Amy, you've got to get in here now. You've got to see this. And so I got my gear, and I went in, and I remember through my mouthpiece just constantly saying, oh, my God. I mean, I was literally saying the words, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. It was the most, the colors and the life forms, and it was just, it was, I didn't even know that something like that could exist. And I had been scuba diving, and I've been snorkeling in many different parts of the world, and I just glimpsed that world that I think so many of my friends who were professional underwater photographers see. But for the first time, it was just like, it was so surreal. It was not of this world experience. And I think that was that was definitely one of them.
Yes, that sounds amazing. The colors, just the visual of that. I'm imagining. Wow, how powerful.
Yeah, it was just absolutely beautiful. And then there were times which was the reverse, in that, and I mentioned this in the book. I talk about when we're arrested the very first time in the Congo, and our logistics team, and there's a long story to that. It's a great story, but they are calling off the expedition. And I cannot comprehend the fact that this expedition is being called off, and I have failed, and the expedition has failed. And because of that, I know that not only the nonprofit, but the for-profit will likely fail, because you can't base your company on going to these remote areas and doing these projects and doing this work, and then all of a sudden, there's nothing to bring back. There's no footage and there's no plants. And so anyway, they call the expedition off, and we're walking back across the village to this guest house where we overnight. And I go into the corner of my room, and I have these two really large North Face dry bags, and I just flop on top of these dry bags, and I bury my head, and I just softly mourn. I mean, I just mourn, because I can't believe that this expedition is now over. And then I get mad, and I'm mad at God, because it's like, you've asked me to do this. I've sacrificed. I've done all this. The team has done everything. We've worked so hard, and now it's going to be over, and we haven't even stepped a foot in the jungle. And so I go through this really harsh ranting, softly, of course, for several minutes, and then I just am just exhausted, and I just close my eyes and I go to sleep. And then about an hour later, the two members of our team, Tibby and Will, come into the room, and they awaken me. And as often is the case, it's like, something's not right. We're not going to let this be over, and we fought. And anyway, I'm not going to give away the book, because it's such an amazing, wonderful story that. But you have those moments, and. So that was the opposite of what you asked, Jonathan, but I couldn't help but remember that story.
Yes, you just had to let it out. It's quite emotional, everything that touches you along the way.
Yeah.
Very, very. And just, but there again, going back to, we could have easily given up and left and said, okay, it's over. And we would never have known and experienced the wonderful things that we did experience. and I think it's in life, and I know you guys know this more than I do, but you have something that is a roadblock in front of you, and you always have that choice. And even when you can't see a way around it or over it or any other way, if it's important enough to you, you keep going and you keep persevering, and I think that makes the difference in your life, whether you go down one path or you go down another. And I'm really glad that I had the people with me and that we together walked that path, because it forever changed who I am.
Wow. You're a great team that you have. What a wonderful team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So enough about me. You guys are just, you're quite the team. I mean, I just love the fact that, to have three people on a radio show it speaks volumes about how you all work together.
Oh, thank you. We are team members. We all have our.
Well, we try to.
I
will say this:
help each other.
what we do is we try not to make decisions unless the other two agree on it. I mean, it works better that way. And I mean, it's otherwise it's just sort of like when I made it, I was like, okay, I'm not going to name the show after myself. I wanted to name it after a concept, and Kelly, around her birthday last year, I bought Kelly a T-shirt. This is right around last year. I bought her a T-shirt advertising the show. And I know that every time she walks around wearing the show, she's advertising the show. She has this big smile on her face. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, she doesn't want to take it off, right?
Right? Yeah. One day, the first time I got it, I wore it for like 3 days straight.
Oh. Yeah. We're very proud.
And it's a great name too. I mean, it really is. Life, laughter, happiness. I mean, it's like it just makes you happy, even just to read it.
Well, it also
good job, Donnie.
We wanted to cover any potential topic, And by the way, we probably should get your birthday. When's your birthday?
July 10th. Do you want the year as well?
No, we don't need the year.
Okay, that's good.
We always do a shout out for all of the people that have been on our show for their birthday when it comes along.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah. Plus, we love astrology too, and so we do that sometimes on our guests. Kelly knows about that.
Yeah. So if you're listening on your birthday, you'll hear your name.
Yeah. Oh, definitely will. I'm actually looking forward to hearing some of the other shows. I've listened to one, and I thought, I sit down in my office a lot of times, and I just have music on. But I think what I'm going to start doing is actually listening to your radio show and being able to work at the same time, which, it's uplifting.
Thank you.
It's always something different. Did you subscribe to our channel? Did you subscribe to our channel?
On YouTube?
You know what? I started to, and then it had something about the area, and I was going to actually ask Kelly. I was making sure that I was doing the right thing and I was on the right page, and I hadn't gone to something else and like I was signing up for some other radio show because I was. Anyway, I may ask Kelly to help walk me through that.
Yeah, we'll send you the link. Well, the link to your show that we will send you after this, then you'll be then into our YouTube, and then you'll be there.
Okay, great. I'm not.
And then if you need more help, she'll help you.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. It took me.
But Amy, I was looking at your Facebook, and you have it so well put together. I might as well do your shout out right now because your Facebook, if everybody just goes to you, Amy Greeson, Greeson, to your Facebook, you have everything there, which leads to your book. And The Silent Spoke is the title of your book, and the links to all your websites for them to learn about your Healing Seekers, healingseekers.com, and your Natural Discoveries website link is on there. So you have it so well organized. So I would say, would you say to send people to your Facebook page, and then it leads to everything else they want to know about you? That's what I found.
That would be beautiful. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. And then you have your Instagram. You can connect to that. You can find that on there, and your Twitter. So, yeah, you've got it going on, that's for sure.
Well, I had a lot of help with that, Barbara. I promise you, because I need help sometimes with the slightest things with the technical aspect.
Well, yeah, you're out there in the rainforest and in the jungles. I mean, you don't have a lot of time for the social media and television, unless you get home, So you're out there. You're the one that is out there doing things, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, I really commend you for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're helping
really,
so
really
many people. Students, you're helping students, you're helping people, you're helping the environment, you're helping heal people from sicknesses and diseases, and just, so many facets of life you're helping. It's truly amazing.
Thank you. I tell you, you try, and it's just, again, you hope by the end of your life that you can look back and made a difference in some way to make the world a little bit better than it is.
Well, you're very humble.
Yeah.
Just had enough knocks to know that. Well, life is wonderful, but it can also be difficult. And but if you can find the beauty along the way, you're a very, very lucky person, I think.
So true.
Yes, it is. Very true.
Well, it was great that you came on. Would you like to do the shout out, Barbara?
Sure. So everybody, you could listen to this wonderful show with Amy Greeson anytime by going to our YouTube channel, Life, Laughter, Happiness, YouTube, and please follow and subscribe there. We appreciate your support. And once you do go listen to this show again, you can find all of our other shows, which we have 200 other shows on so many different topics that are so interesting. So we hope that you do become a part of our community and visit us on our Facebook and our Twitter and Instagram, all under Life, Laughter, Happiness. And thank you so very much, Amy, for coming on the show. You were great. And I just hear in your voice this wonderful, sweet soul that you are. You could just feel it. Wonderful energy. Thank you so much, Kelly, for getting her on the show.
Oh, you're so welcome. My pleasure. Thank you, everybody. I'm just so excited.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes,
thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Amy. We hope you come back again at your next expedition.
Oh, I would love it. Just come go with me, and we'll do the show from the field.
Maybe my daughter will go with you. You never know.
You never know. I would love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody have a good night.
Thank you. You too.